Fides Treasury Services is a wholly owned subsidiary of Credit Suisse Group that acts as an intermediary between corporate treasurers and their banks. Here to discuss their company ethos and the services they offer is CEO Alain Schmid. Alain, welcome.
Thank you.
What kind of challenges do your clients face?
It's important to understand what kind of clients Fides serves. We are targeting the mid to large-sized corporates, and there are several studies. It says that 40 to 50% of the corporate treasurer work the following way. When they're going into the office, the first task they're doing is getting a visibility on their bank accounts. So that when they work with 30 banks, they have to log into 30 internet banking tools. And then they usually use an Excel spreadsheet. They copy-paste the balances in it, and afterwards they decide which cash flows have to transfer to which account, and obviously you have to log into the accounts or the tools again. At the end of the day, it's all about controlling. And you see that these processes are inefficient, it's also prone to mistakes, and last but not least, from an audit perspective, there's just too much manual interaction in it.
And how can Fides help with these challenges?
Our goal at Fides is not just to improve the processes, it's to render them obsolete. Connectivity is what we can do and where we are best in. I like to compare it a little bit to Facebook. Facebook is so important because you have that many friends in Facebook. In Fides, our friends are the banks. We work together with almost 1,500 banks all over the world, and that's where the leverage for the client comes into.
Tell us the impact that the economic downturn has had on your business.
Financial crisis hit almost every institution all over the world. So in our business, there are mostly two strategies. It's a little bit black or white, but mostly two strategies. First one is one bank strategy. You work with everything with your core bank, absolute core bank. So the services are generally very cheap, but they are subsidized by other banking services. Multi-banking, on the other side, is about risk aversion, risk diversification. And the answer I provided you on your first question show you that there's some inefficiency in this multi-banking strategy. But Fides helps to overcome this inefficiency and makes them as efficient as the first strategy, but you can manage your risk.
Speaking of efficiency, how do standardization initiatives like SEPA affect your business model?
In theory, SEPA should be a very bad thing for Fides. We should be very unhappy. 3-5 years ago, everybody thought with SEPA you have just one global or at least European standard, one format in place, and it makes life so much easier for the corporate treasurers. But what we see today is that there are country-specific flavors in place. As well, the banks, they have their own specifications. And this situation connected with the regulatory thing. For example, in Europe you have to use SEPA by February 2014. This combination means a huge business potential for Fides.
Why have you decided not to offer a treasury software management tool?
As I mentioned before, we are doing what we really can do best, and that's all about connectivity. We work very closely with treasury software management providers because it's important to serve our clients on a full scale. And we also have some middle software in place, for example, for clients to get first process efficiency gains on a really first hand. So it's not at all comparable to a full-fledged treasury software management system.
And finally, what principles guide your client relationships?
It's important to understand that a client usually implements the whole operations within several phases. And if you look into one of these phases, which could consist of, first of all, implement the European banks, it's starting with a project. And then it's going into that project. It's very important that Fides brings its experience into the project, is honest, because what we usually see, just for one example, is that the project is placed within corporate treasury. And important stakeholders within the company are not involved. For example, HR, regarding payments on payrolls, compensation, and also financial accounting. So we bring these topics on the table. After the project, you implement the solution. And obviously, our relationship managers are very close to the client to ensure that the services help to meet the goals. But obviously, we want to have the second, or we want to start the second phase, because this means additional business for Fides.
Alain, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you as well.